So the next thing I'm going to do is make my version of this slide. And I'm basically going to use the same process, although it's going to be a little more complicated. Same process that I used to make the rope. So let's go ahead and go to our front view here. And I'm going to zoom in because I want to give myself something to draw on. I want to have a nice, to make sure everything lines up. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle from about that edge there over, and let's see, I want it to be in the same plane as this, so I'm going to have to use my arrow keys. There we go. So I'm now on that same plane. That'll probably be about close enough there. And then before, and it is on the same plane as the 4x4 post there, because as you can see as I orbit it around, that we get that shifting inference between brown and white. So let's see. Let's go ahead and just do a little bit of layout geometry here. T for tape measure. So I'm just going to pull a line about, maybe to about there. I think that'd be a good place for my slide to be. Once I get it done, I can always shift it over if I want to. And I'll pull a line maybe down about there. And these guidelines are on the white surface. So just so we don't get too much sticking, I'm going to go ahead and hide the playset, and then I'm going to go ahead and rough out the profile for my slide. So come up here along the blue axis, cross with the red axis, and again down on the blue, and then I'll use my tape measure tool to pull this over. 2 inches is fine. Pull that over 2 inches, and then let's see, I'll pull off of that along the blue axes, maybe to about there. So I've now got a nice grid going. So I'm going to take and put in my slide, the bottom part, that is the part you sit on the face, aligned with the blue axes, and then I'll use the arc tool again to click here to here, and I'll pull up. There we go. I probably have to zoom in here. There we go. I constrained it with my arrow key, and when it gets to half circle, if you pause for a moment, it'll give you that. And then let's come over to this side and go from here to here, and again we'll pull up. I'll use my arrow key to constrain it, to close it, and if I've done it right, when I come in and erase now, I should be left with my profile, and I am. Okay, so that's all good. So now I can erase this geometry. If I want to come in and smooth this out here, I can add another arc, etc. But I'll let you go ahead and do that. I'll come up to View, expose my hidden geometry, use my Select tool to right click on it and unhide it. And I've now got my profile. And this is not stuck to this because this is a group. So this is a completely separate entity. So at this point, I need to come in and find the midpoint. So I'm going to just pull along here and then mouse down below along that bottom edge until my cyan or light blue colored snap comes up to tell me that I've got my midpoint. And now I'm going to draw my path. So to make my path so that I can have this profile follow it and create my slide, I'm going to go ahead and just start with my line tool and start somewhere along this face. And I'm going to pull out along the green axes, maybe about there. While I'm at it, I'm going to take this and hide it because I can tell it's going to be in the way. So next I'll go ahead and just come into a side view. Yeah, that one's going to work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead, actually, I'm going to start my line straight down along the blue axes. And then I'm going to jump to a different view where I can see that. There it is right there. That's the back side, so let's pick the other side there. I think that'll work. So I'll click on this and come down to the ground, although that's not going to be on the ground unless I come straight down like so. Otherwise it would jump sideways or cattywampus. And then I'm going to come out along the green axes about there. So let's now take and draw our slide profile. So I'm going to have the slide come out along this line. And this is why I drew these 3 lines, so that I'd have something to snap to. I'm going to have it come out a little way so that the kids can come out and get ready to go down the massive slide of death. And let's see, I'll go ahead and pick a spot right there. And then I'll grab a line here, come across the green axes, and then straight down into the ground, like so. So basically I'm going to come out here, slide down, here's the horizontal landing area, and then the slide goes down like that. So let's come in and add our arcs now. So I'll start an arc from here to here, and then just kind of mouse along until it tells me it's tangent. I can now erase that, and that. And let's see, here they're coming down. Now if you want to add some more bendies into your slide, you certainly can, but I'm just trying to demonstrate the techniques here. So again, A for arc. So from about there to there, and then mouse along until we get our tangent. And then again from here, maybe down to there, like so. And we've got our path. So now let's do the fun part. Let's make the slide. Now I'm going to remind you that you have to be very deliberate. You can't mix up these steps. So step number 1 is to select the path. So with your select tool, double click on it, and it should select all of the blue path. If it doesn't make it all blue, then you're probably going to have a break in it, and that's not going to work so well. But if you get this path created, you're pretty much home free. Because step number 2 is to select the Follow Me tool. And then the last step is just to select your profile. And there we go. That looks great. Okay, just a couple of housekeeping items here, along with the new one. My slide, I want to make it into a group or a component. So I'm going to triple click on it. I'm going to go ahead and decide to make it a component, and I'm just going to name it slide so that it shows up in my components window. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of this canopy up here because I don't like it. So what I went ahead and did was I just Googled red and white stripes. You can Google anything you want, but this is just an image here, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to save this image as something in my Playset file. Doesn't matter what you call it as long as you can find it, so I'll just call it stripes because that'll be easy for even this old geezer to remember. So I'll just click save, and then I'm going to come back into SketchUp here. I'm going to click on my paint bucket tool, and it doesn't show up anywhere here, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in roofing. You can put it anywhere you want, again, as long as you can find it. And then within your palette here, you're going to right click and make a new texture. And so we're going to browse for that. And I'll go ahead and enter it. Now, depending upon the resolution of your image, and when I searched, I clicked on tools and chose large images. And as long as you can find what you want, a large image is always better than a small one. So So we jump back into here now. I'll just say 3 foot by 3 foot is fine. You can adjust that later. So there's my stripes. So I'll click on it. And then I'll come up here and I'll click on that. So with our stripe pattern applied, you can see here that we have a little bit of tiling going on, and that's because this image was 3 foot by 3 foot, just what we asked it to do. You can play with scaling. Every image is going to be a little bit different, but I think that looks pretty great, and it's quite an improvement over the plain old teal covered canopy that we had before. As long as I'm at it here, I think I'm going to go ahead and color my slide. And so I'm going to come into colors, and I think I want it to match these blocks right here. So I'm going to click on my eyedropper tool, select that, click on that, and I think that looks pretty good. Now there's a couple of boards here that I forgot to add. This support right here and this one along right here. And they're not really super difficult to add, but what I thought I'd do is go ahead and show you how to use sections. Now your teacher can go ahead and excuse you from this because this kind of gets deep into the weeds, but let's go ahead and go. So I'm going to come back into my model here, and I'm just going to go ahead and hide my slide so it's out of the way. And got my path there too. That's curious. I thought that'd be part of the slide, but I'm going to go ahead and hide that as well. And I could just go ahead and draw a line from right down here to right up there, and then use my tape measure tool to offset that along this face. Notice how I'm mousing over this face so that it doesn't go all cattywampus on me. I'll go ahead and click and I'll type in 5.5, and then I'll use my line tool to draw from there to there, up to there, up to there. And then let's see here, I don't have a separate face here, so I guess I'm missing a line. There we go. I think that'll work now. Oh, yeah, there it is. So P for push pull, and pull this out 1.5 inches. Go to my paint bucket tool, sample this color right here, paint it on there and there. Make it a group if you want, that sort of thing, and we're done. But here's a completely different way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and revert back to my original file. Again, I'll have to come in and rehide the slide and rehide my path. Actually, I could probably delete my path, but I always hate deleting stuff. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this section tool right here, and I'm going to go ahead and just put it right on that face there. Doesn't matter a whole bunch where you put it. It'll ask you for a name, and you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter, but here's where the magic happens. I'll click on the section, type in M for move, grab a point, and then just start to come in until I can see everything that I want. And then with that in place, I can now come in and draw without things getting too cluttered up. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and do basically the same work. T for tape measure, pull down along this face. I'll just click, and then I'll correct the amount 5.5. Then I'll use my line tool to draw from there to that intersection, up to there, and up to there. P for push pull. Pull this out 1.5, and then I'll come over to this same side here and do the same thing. I'll just draw a line from about here up to about there, and then T for tape measure, and I will mouse along this face here so that I'm in the same plane. Type in 5.5, L for line, go ahead and get all my geometry that defines my face. P for push pull. Pull this out, 1.5. Double click or triple click on that. Group it. Triple click on that. Group it. Then go to my paint bucket tool. I think I've still got the same material selected, but just to make sure, I'll click on that. Paint that. Paint that. Click outside the group. And then what do you do with this section? Well, you can hide it, or you can just click on it and delete it. And there you go. Next, we'll go ahead and put in the overhead beam for our swing set, along with these two uprights. And it's not a very difficult thing to do. You could probably do it without watching this particular chapter of the screencast, but I'm going to try to show you something new. So let's go ahead and come into our swing set here. Let's pick a view that shows us, there we go, that shows us this face here on which that beam will hang. So I'm going to just come in here and make a 2x6. So they're 5.5 inches tall, and so there we go. Just kind of watched my dimensions dialog box there until I got exactly what I wanted. P for push pull. We'll pull this out, I'll click, and then I'll just type in 5.5 to correct the amount. So with that in place, I'm just going to go ahead now and use my tape measure tool, and I'm going to pull across here to find the center of the beam using that snap. And then I'll come in and I'm going to draw a nice big thick beam. And I want it to be centered here, so I'm going to tap my Option key, and I'm just going to pull out to about there. Not exactly sure how big that is, but that's okay. So P for push pull. I'll pull this out and I'll say 10 feet. Type that in, and that looks like that'll do the trick. So with my horizontal elements in place, I'm now going to take and triple click on those, and I'm going to group them together so that the next step doesn't become sticky. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to take and create a new rectangle. I'm going to start from here, and as I pull down, I can see that this is constrained along the red axis. However, when I come outside that face, everything jumps around. So again, I'm just going to use my arrow keys until I get the red constraints, and I'll just come out here even with the ground. So that's looking pretty good. So next, I want to go ahead and do a little bit of guideline work. So I'm going to take and use my protractor tool. I'm going to come up to that midpoint right there, come down along the blue axis, and pull a line out 30 degrees. With that in place, I can now take and draw a line from here down to there, and then I'll use my tape measure tool to pull across here 5.5 inches. Again, go back to my line tool and do my line work. I'll say it about there. Whoops, must have lost it there. There we go, and then I'll hit escape and draw a line down here along the blue axis, and hopefully, oh, it looks like I have a leak somewhere. So let's come into here. Oh yeah, see, I missed that little part right there. So I'll just draw along here, down to there, and now I've got this face that I can take and extrude using the push-pull tool. I'll pull that out 1.5 inches. I'll hit return. I'll do a little bit of erasing work now. There we go. I think I got them all. And so there's that board right there. So now I'm going to triple click on that, and make it a group. So at this point, now that it's a group, I could go ahead and do all that same work again to create the other side. But if you want to grow up to be big and fat and lazy like Mr. Westland, you're going to find a different way to do it. So here's a new learning opportunity. I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. So there's another board right there. I'm going to open up that group, by the way. Looks like I got a little extra line segment right there. Not that that's going to matter a whole bunch, but we'll go ahead and close that. And then I'm going to take and click on this and choose to scale it. When I do that, you get these grips. And so I'm just going to pick one of these middle grips because I don't want to make it thinner or thicker or taller or whatever. I just want to reverse it. So I'm just going to pull along in that direction. And then I'm going to type in a scale factor of -1. And if you want to do this, it'll always be -1. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and watch what happens. There we go. We've got a mirror of it. So now I can take and type in M for move. I can grab that point right there. I can come right in here, attach it right there. And I now, in just a couple of mouse clicks, have created a mirror. SketchUp doesn't have a pure mirror function, but this is how they go ahead and handle that. So in any event, this is a group, this is a group. So let's go ahead and just go ahead and put in that last board. So I'll come down here and pull up along this face, oh, maybe about to there. And then I'll pull down 5.5 inches. And then I'll go ahead and do a little bit of line work here. So from there to there, across to there, and there. And then P for push pull. And I'll pull this out 1.5 inches. And then finally, what I didn't do before, but I'll do now, is that I'll go to my same wood pattern and start to color these different grouped elements. And I think we got them all. And I think that's looking pretty good. Oh, didn't get that side there. Oops, I lost some edges, didn't I? Okay, so how do we dress that? We're going to come in here and just simply heal the surface by drawing a line across like that. And then I'll come over into this group here and draw a line across. I think like that. And you can erase these line segments. I'll click outside. And that looks pretty good. Oh, I didn't group this here, did I? So let's triple click on that. Let's make that a group. And then when I take my paint bucket tool and paint it, I can just do it in one click. So I'll just come in and erase my guidelines now. And I think the last thing we need to do is just come in and put in the swings. So we're getting pretty close to the end here. And what we want to do is just go ahead and add some swings. And by now we've covered all the skills where you could probably draw those manually, but I want to show you again something new. So I'm going to come into here, and then I'm going to come up under Window and choose the 3D Warehouse. Now you can also go to the 3D Warehouse on the web. I've gone ahead and searched for swings, and what you have to realize about 3D Warehouse is that these are all models that were uploaded by people just like you and me. And sometimes they're great, and sometimes they're not so great. So your mileage is greatly going to vary, but it's fun to work with. So let's see what we can find here. Just looking for a simple swing. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this one here. And it looks okay. The file size isn't really big. You don't want to download really big components from the 3D Warehouse lest your computer slow down to a crawl. So when I click on download, it gives me the option to load it directly into my model. So I'll say sure. That'll save me a couple of steps. And when I do, the swing is now attached to my cursor. It's too tall, but that's okay. We can go ahead and work with that. So first thing I want to do is get it oriented. So I'm going to go into my top view here and then type in Q for rotate. Just pick a point on the seat, come along the red axis, and rotate it around so that it is oriented properly. And then I'll come back into a isometric view here, and I'll type in M for move. And I'm going to grab this point right there on the face of the group. And I'll bring it over here. I'll tip this up and zoom in and plop it on that face about right there. So let's take a view here. We'll do a Shift Z for a zoom extension. You can see that our swing extends down into the ground, and that's not good. So I'll go ahead and type in S for scale, and I'll pull it up some. I'll pick a orthographic view like so, and then I think I'm going to type in M for move. I'll click anywhere and move it along the red axis about to there. And then we'll take a look. We'll unclick, and that looks pretty good. So you could add another swing, but let's go ahead and just pick something different. So again, we'll go back into our 3D warehouse. We're searching for swings, and that one's only got 478 views, or excuse me, downloads, which tells me that it might not be the best one that's out there. Whereas this one here has got 10,000 downloads, so that's probably a pretty good one. Let's take a look at that. Well, we'll see if it works. It's free, so let's go ahead and download it, although it is 10 megabytes, so that could slow down some Chromebooks. But we'll go ahead and load it into our model. And there it is attached to our cursor. Again, it's too big, and so what I'll go ahead and do is, just for right now, type in M for move. I'm going to grab that top part right there, and then I'm going to come around here, orbit around like so, and maybe I'll put it about right there on that face. Got to make sure it's on the face. Then let's go to, it wasn't, so I'll click here and scoot it up. There we go. So now let's take a look like so. Take another look. And that's not so bad. So let's just go ahead and type in S for scale. I'll pitch around just a little bit like this. Grab that middle group. And you know what? I'm not going to grab the middle group because it's kind of wide, isn't it? So I'm going to hit escape. And I'm going to grab this right here and just kind of scale it so it's about the same size as the other. Let's take a look around. That looks pretty good. Actually, I think I'll center it by just typing in M for move. I'll click anywhere and then just move it along the red axis to about there. And then to make my life extra easy, I'm going to go ahead and click on this. Type M for move. I'll pick a base point anywhere. I'll start to move it along the red axis. I'll tap my Option key. Get that about centered. And there's our playset. What do you think about that? I really, really like that. Now I'm sure yours is going to look different, and that's okay. You can be as creative as you want, and you can certainly have some fun with this. I hope you've enjoyed this. This is Mr. Westland, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Ask your teacher. Your teacher knows how to contact me, and I'll be glad to help you out.